it could be like the possibilities of all the things that you could accomplish that you never even imagined before.
Absolutely.
And the way that we tap into that is by releasing ourselves from the mental prison that we've created for ourselves, that I'm not good enough, I don't deserve this, I'm not worthy. We want to release those thought patterns so that we can get to the good stuff. Oh my God, my life is more amazing than I ever could have imagined. That's where we're headed. That's where we want to head by working with this energy through the full moon lunar eclipse in Pisces.
Welcome to the Weekly Transit, a podcast exploring the intersection of Western astrology and Jungian psychology. Astrology is a language that communicates how the planets and stars influence life on Earth, while psychology helps us navigate both conscious and unconscious experiences. Together, these tools offer the potential for self-understanding, growth, and transformation. Join astrologer Scott Tajarian and me, psychotherapist Gabriella Durso, as we dive into the cosmic forecast each week.
Welcome to the Weekly Transit. This is the week of September 16th to the 22nd. The theme this week, Gabriella, is empathy, and the highlights are the full moon lunar eclipse in Pisces, the sign of dreams and empathy. And we're also highlighting the sun's transit into Libra and Venus's transit into Scorpio. Before we get started, though, we got an interesting question from a listener named Allison, which I thought would be good to bring up here at the beginning of the show to highlight your dream workshop. She was interested in your dream workshop, and she said, Allison said that throughout my life I have gone in and out of what I like to call seasons of dreaming, because to me my dreams are as entertaining as watching TV shows. I even have had continual themes that seem like ongoing stories. Mostly, I think these periods of vivid dreams coincide with times when I am actively paying attention to recording and remembering them into my waking life, often prompted by a very active night of dreams. I had one such night, choked full of so many dreams recently after a long dream drought, and decided to check out what was happening with the moon. This was the night of the new moon on September 2nd. It made me wonder, does the moon cycles have any connection to how active our dreams are and how much we remember what we dream after waking?
Such a great question.
Yeah.
Thank you, Allison. I love this reference to seasons of dreaming. Because I do think that's part of what this question is asking. You're noticing the seasons of dreaming sort of naturally throughout the year, and curious about how the cycles of the moon might be related to sort of personal seasons.
Yes. I think the moon cycle can influence the dreams.
Absolutely.
For sure. And again, it all depends on where it's transiting in relation to your astrological code.
Well, I imagine too that of everything that we could dream about every night, that it could be sort of like a filter. The placement of the moon, we could think of it perhaps as a filter through which something wants to come through, like how that material is interpreted. So if the moon is in Aries, you might be having dreams about that fiery energy.
Running, being chased,
impulsivity, maybe anger, maybe aggression, maybe passion.
Yes.
And if the moon is in Pisces, maybe it's more watery and intuitive and maybe confusing. Maybe when the moon is in Pisces, you have those dreams that are harder to understand what's going on.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
So absolutely. This is a great point and helps us understand why our dream content changes.
So when you're thinking about the moon placements in different signs, I think it's interesting that Allison says that she had a vivid night of dreams during the new moon, which was in Virgo, which is one of the signs that represents reality. It's an earth sign. So it's interesting that you would have very vivid dreams when the moon is transiting through an earth sign. Like you were saying, when it's in Pisces, it might be more confusing or maybe harder to grasp. But when it's transiting through an earth sign, maybe it feels more real.
Mm-hmm. It's easier to bring the dream back into reality, physical reality.
Yes, like maybe those are the dreams that you're having where you're not even aware that you're dreaming. You like wake up and you're like, well, that was a dream. I you know what I mean? Like you have those dreams where you wake up and it takes you a minute to come back to reality because where you just left felt so real.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, sometimes it does feel like we wake up and that was the dream space was more real than the reality here.
Yes.
Yeah.
I'm curious to hear what you have to say in relation to what Allison was referring to, where she says that these periods of vivid dreams coincide with times when she is actively paying attention to recording and remembering her dreams in her waking life. So is that something that you can expand upon?
Sure, absolutely. And I want to just say generally, as Pam and I have been preparing for this, our dream workshop, which is coming up starting at the end of September here, full information is on my website, GabriellaDurso.com, on the workshop tab. In case you missed it, I'm co-facilitating an 8-week online dream group beginning Friday, September 27th. And we're in process of considering adding a second time, which might be on a Tuesday evening, but it's not finalized yet. So if you're interested, but Friday doesn't work for you because it's during working hours, if you work a traditional 9-to-5 job, stay tuned about that Tuesday night time, or please reach out to me if you're interested in it so we can get a head count. But most of the feedback that Pam, my co-facilitator, and I have been hearing is that a lot of you out there have trouble remembering your dreams. And so you feel excited about the opportunity, the idea of doing dream work, but don't really know. Maybe you're nervous to come to the workshop because you don't know how much content you're going to have to kind of work through. And so I love that Allison is bringing this in. I think the simple lesson here is that expression, where your attention goes, your energy flows. And so much of beginning a dream practice is just having the desire to do so. And simply giving more time, energy, and attention to remembering your dreams. Even if it's as simple as asking for dreams before you go to bed at night, developing a ritual around that, putting a notebook by your bedside table, developing a plan for how you're going to record the contents of your dreams, and then being willing to start small with whatever emerges, listening to the voice, to the messages of the unconscious.
Yes.
So even if it doesn't come through as this perfectly formulated dream, maybe it comes in through images that are fragmented in some way instead of a complete dream, or feeling tones, colors, maybe it's really abstract. Those are all doorways into a deeper relationship with dreaming.
Yes. It's such a great time for this workshop with everything that you're saying, because what I'm hearing from you is this is a time to really be practicing on cultivating what's happening within your unconscious through learning how to work with your dreams. And that is in alignment with Saturn transiting through Pisces. Saturn is the planet of work and responsibility, and Pisces is the sign of dreams. So,
and we're going to be covering this in the workshop, inviting, recording, and sharing dreams, and
how to do that,
and learning how to develop that relationship with yourself. That's a big part of the workshop. So for those of you who are maybe on the fence, we always have fence sitters when it comes to workshops. It's like I can feel you all out there. I can feel the energetic yes, and then I can feel the fence sitting. And I encourage you to join us.
Yes.
And be willing to start that relationship with yourself. And it requires some vulnerability and learning how to listen to what might be a very quiet voice at the beginning of this kind of a process. But if you're someone who isn't having dreams yet, but you have an active fantasy life, you're someone who daydreams, those are also doorways into a dreaming practice. And you're welcome to work with those images in the workshop as well. Because a big part of what we're exploring is how to learn to interpret and experience and speak the language of the unconscious. Just like you often refer to the astrology as a language, we could also say that the unconscious is a language that speaks to us through symbol, metaphor, and image. So if you come in with even an image from a daydream, you'll get to practice having a relationship with that image, which will support you when you do eventually have nighttime dreams. So all of that is really valuable content in terms of just practicing.
Amazing.
So thank you, Allison. This was such a great question and perfect timing for me to get to speak to the workshop again.
Yes.
And I'm so curious about, what it is you're dreaming and what else you notice and sort of your different seasons of dreaming. So how exciting.
Awesome. Thank you, Gabriella. Thank you, Allison. Moving into the week. The first transit for the week is Venus, the goddess of love and beauty, the planet of relationships, transiting through the cardinal air sign, which Venus rules, Libra, forms an opposition to Chiron, the wound, and the ancient wisdom which is unlocked through healing that wound, transiting retrograde through the cardinal fire sign symbolized by the ram Aries. This transit occurs from Saturday, September 14th to Wednesday, the 18th, with an exact opposition occurring on Monday, September 16th. This is happening right before the full moon lunar eclipse in Pisces, which occurs on Tuesday, September 17th, 7:34 p.m. Pacific time. So you take these two transits together, along with a third transit, because all three of these transits are sort of happening collectively at the beginning of the week. There's Venus opposite Chiron, there's the full moon lunar eclipse in Pisces, and then there's Mercury, the planet of consciousness, the messenger of the gods, guide of souls to the underworld, the planet of consciousness, communication, coordination, transiting through the mutable earth sign, symbolized by the Virgin, which is ruled by Mercury, Virgo, forming an opposition to Saturn, the god of wealth and time, the planet of restriction, responsibility, hard work, achievement, and authority, transiting retrograde through the mutable water sign, symbolized by the fish, Pisces. So you have these three oppositions occurring at the beginning of the week. The opposition between Mercury and Saturn is Monday to Thursday, with the exact opposition occurring on Wednesday, September 18th. But these three oppositions are all occurring at the beginning of the week. A lot of tension of the opposites between conscious reality and the unconscious, which is the sun in Virgo and Mercury in Virgo opposing the moon and Saturn in Pisces. And then you have Venus in Libra opposing Chiron in Aries. So there is some sort of balance or reconfiguration or a release of whatever is occurring within our unconscious that is maybe not supporting us in our present reality. What is happening within your unconscious which is not supporting you in your present reality? Is there something within your present reality that feels off? Maybe there's something in your unconscious to investigate that needs to be shifted in some way in order to shift your reality. Maybe this is something that would go along with what you would learn in the dream workshop, yes?
Absolutely. Yeah, our unconscious is essentially anything that we're unaware of. And so you could say that there's always value in taking time to bring what you're unaware of into awareness. That's how we achieve what we call in the Jungian realm wholeness. The more you are willing to look at sort of the hidden aspects of who you are, maybe beliefs that you hold that are outside of your awareness, the more you can experience wholeness.
Yes. I think an interesting way to maybe uncover what is happening in your unconscious, let me know how this sounds to you, but is by paying closer attention to what's happening within your reality. Like it's going to give you a clue if there's something going on in your reality that's off, that maybe there's something in your unconscious that's off. Like for instance, in the most recent moon cycle class that I had for the full moon lunar eclipse in Pisces, I had two people in the class talk about how they had eye infections. And that was the day after I had met with another client that also said they had an eye infection. These people don't live anywhere close to each other. And so, we looked at the Louise Hay book, Heal Your Body, to see what it meant. And it's irritation, aggravation, and not wanting to see something. So the body is telling you that maybe there's something going on beneath the surface that you are unaware of, that you need to become aware of in order to shift the frequency.
Absolutely. And actually the body and working with the body as a metaphor for the unconscious itself is a really powerful tool.
Yes. So this eclipses are heavy. It's an intense energy because it's happening in direct relation to the earth. And it signifies a release. So what is it that is occurring within your unconscious? Something that maybe you were previously unaware of, but has come to the surface through your health or a shift in your present reality that feels uncomfortable, that is making you more aware of something that you were previously unaware of. What is it that you need to release?
Well, and oftentimes a way to know maybe what to lean into, like you said, any sort of symptoms, physical symptoms that are recurring. But I would say in terms of looking at physical reality, looking at patterns and themes that are showing up in your life and leaning into, like, where do you have questions? Where are the questions? I had one of the first therapists that I really worked with when I was in my program at Pacifica. I would come into sessions with like so much to say and not knowing where to start. And she would always she would always say to me, where are the questions? And I love that prompt. And so that's also I think a prompt we can ask ourselves in terms of maybe what it is we need to dream about or what it is we need to integrate. Where are the questions?
Mm-hmm.
Like, why does this keep happening to me? Or what am I supposed to be learning from these recurring relationships that are difficult for me? Or it's where are the questions and where is the suffering?
And Virgo's about the routine. And so with the sun transiting through Virgo, we're noticing things about our routine.
The details.
Yes, exactly. That can help us become more aware of what's going on beneath the surface. I think also you think about relationships with this Venus opposing Chiron. What are you afraid of?
There's the suffering.
Yeah, there's the suffering. So what is the suffering that you're experiencing in your relationships? Whatever the suffering is you're experiencing in your relationships has something to do with what's happening within your unconscious.
Absolutely.
So there's something about your unconscious that needs to come to the surface and be released through this lunar eclipse. I think of Pisces as that sign that represents the unconscious, which signifies that place where we want to kind of bury or push beneath the surface of our mind the guilt, the shame, the regret, the blame. So what do you feel guilty for? What do you regret? What are you blaming yourself or the person that you're in a relationship with or your friends? Where are you suffering within you that needs to be released? It's releasing that through compassion and empathy.
Well, and it's releasing it by integrating it into your awareness.
Yes.
So it no longer is trapped.
Right. It's like that rock in your shoe that it's bothering you and you're walking, and if you don't do something about it, your ankle's going to hurt, and then it's going to lead to your knee, your hip. Now you have a bad back. When all you have to do is take off your shoe. There's the rock. That's what it is. Dump it out and go about your day. So that's what we're doing. We're taking it. We're looking. It's like, oh, I did do that. And I do feel guilty about that. I do feel ashamed about that. Well, you know what? Here I am on Earth having this experience. I'm here to learn. I'm here to grow. I'm here to evolve. And I see that I did something that hurt me or hurt another, or someone did something that hurt me. I'm going to have empathy for them because they have had a hard experience. I've had a hard experience through this suffering, but I'm going to forgive myself now. I'm going to forgive them. I'm going to recognize that we're on this learning journey together. And through this process, we're growing, we're evolving, and now I can integrate that suffering with understanding, forgiveness, and love. And that's ultimately where we're going with this full moon lunar eclipse in Pisces.
And this is referred to as shadow work. And your shadow is a part of your unconscious.
Yes.
So while the unconscious is everything that you're unaware of, the shadow is particularly the guilt, the shame, the regret, the blame, as you like to say. It's the heavy stuff.
Yes.
But we know that we also have access to all of our unconscious material. The unconscious can hold material that we might have repressed. Like we have the ability to actually repress information, as we know, for some of us who maybe we don't remember parts of our childhood or even things that happened more recently than that. Traumatic events, we can push them down. But the unconscious also holds material that has never been conscious for us before. So it's a wellspring of who knows what.
It could be like the possibilities of all the things that you could accomplish that you never even imagined before.
Absolutely.
And the way that we tap into that is by releasing that us releasing ourselves from the mental prison that we've created for ourselves, that I'm not good enough, I don't deserve this, I'm not worthy. We want to release those thought patterns so that we can get to the good stuff. The, oh my God, my life is more amazing than I ever could have imagined. That's where we're headed. That's where we want to head by working with this energy through the full moon lunar eclipse in Pisces. So if you're interested in learning more about how the next lunar cycle is going to be affecting you, where we will be covering the new moon solar eclipse in Libra and the full moon in Aries, you can enroll at theweeklytransit.com. Moving on to our next transit with the sun in Virgo, makes 3 alignments kind of simultaneously, because Uranus, the planet of revolution, Neptune, the planet of dreams, and Pluto, the planet of transformation, are all aligning with each other. Uranus is in Taurus, fixed earth, symbolized by the bull, representing security and values. Neptune's in Pisces, the sign that it rules. Neptune's the planet of dreams, Pisces, the sign of dreams. And Pluto is transiting retrograde through Capricorn, the cardinal earth sign symbolized by the goat, representing goals, ambitions, achievement. These 3 planets are kind of in this holding pattern together over the next month and a half. This is really helping us reestablish what you value, what you're working to achieve, what your dreams are. It's about reimagining the dream based on your self-worth and value, and through that transforming what it is you're spending your time on, your goals, your ambitions, what you're working towards. The sun aligns with all 3 of these planets simultaneously. It makes an exact trine with Uranus on Thursday, September 19th, an exact opposition to Neptune on Friday, September 20th, and an exact trine with Pluto on Saturday, September 21st, as it transits through Virgo. So the sun is bringing that light, life, and vitality to the mutable earth signs. So we've got all 3 earth signs at play. Fixed earth, Taurus, that's establishing self-worth and values. Capricorn, which is the goals and ambitions that I'm working to achieve. But then Virgo, which is what are you doing on a day-to-day basis that is reflective of your self-worth, your values, and what you want to achieve. And then you bring in that unconscious element of Neptune in Pisces and say, how can I reimagine the dream based on my self-worth, my values, my daily routine, and my goals? So as this is happening, Mercury, also transiting through Virgo, forms a square, a stressful aspect with Jupiter, the planet of luck and expansion, and the other planetary ruler of Pisces, transiting through the mutable air sign symbolized by the twins, Gemini. So this is connecting our conscious thoughts with our physical reality. And maybe there's a disconnect between the two, where on one hand you think, I want this, but in reality you don't have what it is you say you want. And so through that, this alignment's also occurring exact on Saturday, September 21st, and occurs from Thursday to Sunday. So all 4 of these transits are kind of combining from like Tuesday to next Monday, where we are thinking about our conscious thought patterns, looking at our reality, saying, my reality doesn't fit my thoughts. I say I want this, but yet in my reality, I don't have what I say.
Is it saying versus doing?
Well, and that's where the Virgo comes in. It's like, well, what am I doing each and every day? I say I want to fill in the blank, but what I see in my reality is not fill in the blank.
Mm-hmm.
So I need to shift something within my daily reality, what I'm doing, so I can get what I say that I want based on my values and my goals. Well, I value this and I want to achieve this, and I speak it, but yet it doesn't happen. Okay, well, what are you doing each and every day to bring that conscious thought into your physical reality?
So it sounds like you're talking about manifestation, essentially.
Mm-hmm.
How do thoughts become a catalyst for real change?
Mm-hmm. Exactly.
And we know that leaning into those images, those things that we want to bring into reality is only a piece of the puzzle.
Mm-hmm.
It's where they start, but then they have to be really invited in through physical changes. We have to make space for them.
Yes.
Create an opening.
Exactly. And that's what the Virgo energy is about. It's like shifting, reorganizing so you can create that opening.
Well, one of my favorite practices, and maybe this is coming up during this particular week with sort of the reorganization, but is feng shui as a practice.
Yes.
Because when you move around items in your home to allow more energy flow, you're actually making space for something new.
Yes.
Like one of my favorite practices, if anyone out there is looking for a partner or trying to call in a relationship, is to make sure that your bedroom is inviting for that partner to actually make space for them.
Yes.
So make sure the side of the bed that they would be sleeping on isn't pushed up into a corner. Into the wall. Making sure they have a bedside table. Yep. So you're creating the conditions for whatever that manifestation is to actually come in so that it can come in.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. And since we're talking about feng shui, I want to give a shout out to Jen, who is one of my amazing clients, and she is a feng shui individual, but also does dowsing and really shifts the energy and the frequencies. If you're looking for somebody to help you with your home environment and she works remotely, go to her website, Indigo Moon. She's incredible. So, but really like the environment, shifting the environment can change so much.
Absolutely.
Now, the sun transits into Libra on September 22nd. That is Sunday. So as we close out the week, there's a lot of last minute shifting that occurs. Because we got these 3 transits that close out the week. The sun transits into Libra. Venus transits into Scorpio. But before Venus transits into Scorpio, when it's still transiting through Libra, it makes a square with Pluto in Capricorn. So there could be some intense, maybe difficult shifting occurring in your relationships as you become aware of what was previously unconscious and you face your fears and insecurities that you're experiencing within your relationships with the Venus opposing Chiron transit at the early part of the week, which really brings a lot to the surface. There may be transformations that are occurring within your relationships that could feel quite difficult, but are necessary.
Mm-hmm. And this work, making the unconscious conscious through dream work or through other practices, other ways that information emerges, can be exciting, invigorating, can be like those aha moments where things really click into place and it feels fantastic. Mm-hmm. And alternately, it can also be a death process in some way. And that's what we know about transformation, is that it's a birth and it's a death. There's a new way of seeing. And in turn, there's also a way that you saw yourself, your relationships, the world at large that you have to let go of.
Hmm.
And so there can be grief, there can be all the stages of grief, denial, anger, bargaining. There can be a lot that comes up when doing this work, but it's in service of that experience of wholeness, of seeing things for how they truly are. And so it's a gift and it's a challenge all at once.
Yes. Yes, because it's like you need to make the change, but it's difficult to make the change. It's almost like you have to have like a mourning period for the way things used to be, and it's no longer going to be that way anymore. But you can't sustain being the way that it was. But it doesn't mean that you can't feel sad about it.
Absolutely. Well, in some way, doing this work has a psychedelic quality to it, in that you can't ever go back to how you saw it before. So there's a loss.
Yes.
There's what you gain, but there's also what you lose.
It just always just makes me think of like one of my favorite movies that had such an impact on me when I got out of college and moved to LA was the movie Swingers, where there's this moment where, Mikey, the main character, is depressed because he broke up with his girlfriend. He moved to LA. She's back in Chicago. And his friend is like, eventually you're going to get over it, but then you miss the pain. Like you miss the pain and suffering. Like you get through the suffering, but then you're sad that the suffering's gone because you've lived with it for so long that it was like a part of you. And I think that's kind of like what we're talking about. That like even if you were in like a horrible relationship, there's still sadness in the ending of the relationship, or even the aftermath of the relationship. You're sad that it ended, but then you get through the suffering period, but then you're sad that the suffering period's over because you grew attached to that part of yourself.
Well, it's all about having to embrace the unknown.
Yes. We're stepping into that right now with these transits of the Sun in Libra and Venus in Scorpio, the shift into the new, leaving the past behind, new relationships, transforming old relationships, ending relationships that are no longer in service to the people involved. That's what this is about. The Sun's transits through Libra from September 22nd to October 22nd. Typically, the Sun's in Libra from September 23rd to October 23rd, but because this year is a leap year, it's a day earlier. Whereas Venus transits through Scorpio from September 22nd to October 17th. The square of Venus in Libra and Pluto in Capricorn is occurring from Friday to Monday, with the exact square happening on Sunday, September 22nd, right as Venus transits into Scorpio. So it's kind of interesting that Venus is squaring Pluto, the planetary ruler of Scorpio, right before it transits into Scorpio. So there's some sort of heavy transformation. Be open to the heavy transformations that are potentially occurring in your relationships this next weekend. And I'll put the dates for Venus's transit into Scorpio. I'll put those in the show notes. It's important to look back and just see those dates, check your calendar, check your emails, check your photos on your phone or your social media posts to give you some insight into what was occurring on the dates that Venus was previously transiting through Scorpio. That will give you some insight into what could be occurring this time around that Venus transits through Scorpio. But for those born with key astrological points in Cancer, Capricorn, there's stress when the Sun is in Libra. And for those born with key astrological points or planets in Leo or Aquarius, there's stress or tension when Venus is transiting through Scorpio. Tension with relationships. But it's that tension that is going to facilitate the transformation.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
The tension of the opposites is one of my favorite Jungian concepts, which says that when you experience that tension, that rather than trying to resolve it perfectly, if you just hold it, then a third way will emerge.
And that's what's happening in the early part of the week. We literally have 6 planets that are opposing each other. The sun and the moon, Mercury and Saturn, Venus and Chiron. All 6 of those planets are opposing one another. So we start the week with this tension of the opposites, and we're going to just we got to kind of hold that discomfort through the eclipse on Tuesday. And by the time we get to Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, we're starting to feel that opening that you're talking about.
Well, it's like when you go to a yoga class and you find that point where you can't stretch anymore and you hold it.
You just breathe through it.
And you breathe through it. You're teaching your body how to
deal with the discomfort.
How to deal with tension. It's the same thing on an energetic level. But we see it all the time when you're exercising your body, you find that point of tension and you work with it.
Yes.
You learn how to hold it.
Yes, exactly. Breathe through the tension, the pain, the suffering, whatever it is. Breathe through it. By the end of the week, you'll have the opening. You'll be reestablishing who you are, what you value, what you want to achieve, how you want to live your daily life. And then by the end of the week, there's a little more tension that's going to help facilitate the transformations that need to occur in your relationships in order for you to connect to that new version of yourself through the individuals that are in your life. As you change, they need to change.
Well, and relationships are all co-creation. So if one person in the relationship changes, the relationship changes.
Yes. Yeah.
Either way, it gives you information about how to proceed.
Well, that gets us through the week.
Powerful week.
Yeah, it's powerful, it's intense, transformative, a lot of becoming aware of what you previously weren't aware of, releasing, holding the tension until it releases, seeing what the third thing is, the opening, finding that opening, reestablishing who you are, how you live your daily life, what you're working to achieve, reimagining the dream, and being open to transforming the relationships to support you on your path. That's the focus for the week. So I hope this is helpful to all of you out there. Thank you, Gabriella, for being here and all your wisdom.
Thank you, Scott. Thank you for everything you've shared today, and
you're welcome.
For your wisdom. And thank you to all of our listeners.
Yes.
Thanks for being here, sticking with us.
Yes, thanks for being here. We appreciate your support.
We do, very much.
Thank you for listening to the Weekly Transit. If you're curious to learn how these transits or any other transits may be affecting you, or if you're interested in learning more about your astrological code, contact me for a reading at theweeklytransit.com. If you're interested in delving into the world of psychotherapy with Gabriella, you can schedule a consultation with her at gabrieladurso.com. That's Gabrielladurso.com. Support for the podcast can be done through a monthly contribution on Spotify, rating us 5 stars, subscribing to our channel on YouTube, or writing a favorable review on Apple Podcasts. We are grateful for your support. This episode was produced by me, Scott Tajarian. Music written by Ben Leinbach from Listen Deep by Amber Herzog-Lyman. Wishing you all the best as you ride the planetary waves.